Well, hello everybody. Welcome to an episode of Remodelers on the Rise. I got a special guest. I almost said very special guest, but I don't want to. I don't want to get you up too high on a pedestal, Tom.
Yeah, you can't get crazy, man.
Yeah.
It's
We would have started right on time. We started a minute late because Tom got all nervous. He's never done this YouTube thing. He's never done these live shows. He's very anxious in front of the camera. If you guys have ever seen him, you probably that's not true, is it?
I was all puckered up in the closet 10 minutes before we did this,
Yes.
man. Not just freaking out. You got me.
Yes,
So,
worried. I've got a sneaky feeling that that he's just comfortable as can be. And his it's Roz, your one of your assistants, yeah.
yeah.
Roz reached out to me about a month ago and said, "Hey, Tom's got this little book coming out, Winning the Contractor Fight, and Kyle, you've got a podcast and a live show. Um,
hmm
what about having Tom on there?" And it's probably been, time flies when you're having fun. It's probably been maybe 18 months. You were on
Yeah.
my podcast, I was on your podcast, so we got
Yep.
to know each other a little bit through that. I've been following your work, and even when I posted that we were doing this show, there was a little bit more chatter in my Facebook group of going, "Hey, I know that Tom guy. He's pretty
Mm,
feisty. He's pretty wise. He's
yeah.
you're all those things." How would you describe yourself, Tom?
Um, honest.
Hmm.
I, that actually means a lot to me because I actually lived most of my life stuffing what I really thought.
Hmm.
And so I hit a point in my life where I just said, I'm going to be me, take me, leave me. I don't care. And so that's why I said honest.
Good. I remember
So
when we
yeah.
did our interview, you went fairly deep. Like you talked about your backstory a bit, and
hmm
the big takeaway I had from the first time we did this was your focus on mindset. Your
Yeah.
focus on mindset. We talk practical marketing tips, practical sales process tips. I think of the content that I create and talking about understanding your P&L and job costing and all these practical things. But there's a few things that it's less tangible. It's less
hmm
do this. One thing that comes to mind is confidence. It's very
Yeah.
hard to teach or train confidence, and likewise, mindset is a huge factor in success or failure, similar
hmm
to how confidence is. So you talk a lot about mindset, and why don't we start there? Tell us a little bit about the importance of mindset, and you might even kind of tie it in with what the heck is the fight. Define
Yeah.
the fight, Tom.
Yeah.
And
So
and 1 second. Hey, people
uh
watching live, throw a little like out there. Maybe even throw a comment out there. Get things
yeah, give
get
us
things
some
going. If you
love,
if you
man.
have some
Give
if
us
you
some
have some
love.
questions, even if I don't get to it right now, give us some questions. You seed us some things there. Okay, so the fight, Tom. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, the contractor fight is simply put the 6 inches between your ears. We got to win the battle in our mind. And so many of us undersell our value. We don't believe we bring or we're worth the money that we're charging. And so we end up stealing from our family, time, memory, money, all that stuff. And so when we started the contractor fight, it was, I've been a part of a lot of different programs through the years, hired a lot of different coaches. I've had other, before we rebranded to the contractor fight, our focus a lot was on the numbers and the marketing and all those types of things. And what I found personally and with a lot of other people is you could do a lot of the right things. You can get the math right and still wonder why you're not crushing it on the money, why you're not having more success. And it really comes down to how you see yourself, what you believe about yourself. And, um, you know, I try not to be too woo woo about it because I know, to be honest with you, I don't fully understand how this mindset totally works. I'm not a brain guy, I know enough to know that what I put in here when it's good, um, we have a saying here called T-bar. Your thoughts drive your beliefs drive your actions get you the results you want. So if you're thinking to yourself, I'm not, I'm not worth a couple $100,000 a year in my pocket as a contractor, that's what you tell yourself. Or one of the stories I told myself growing up was Reber's never make any money. Reber's never make any money. So I
Mhm.
believed Reber's never made money. So I never took the actions fully, like something as simple as raising my prices. When I looked at my job costing and I'm like, yeah, but I can't, because way deep in there, I had Reber's don't make money.
Hmm.
And then I was, I had degrees of success, but I never knocked it out of the park until I really worked on my mindset. And so that's, I find 100% of the people that are crushing it in our communities and uh, changing their bank accounts, their health, their marriages, all that other stuff, growing their teams. Every single one of them will tell you it all started by winning the 6 inches in their head.
Well, time out. Is the head shrinking? You said 8 inches a minute ago.
No, I said 6, man.
Was it 6? Is it only 6
It's
inches?
6. I have a small head. It's never more than 6. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I have really
Mindset.
small ears too. See,
you're beautiful.
you know what they say about guys with small ears, right? Yeah.
Does anybody, if anybody could leave a comment to answer that question, that would be wonderful. So tell us more about how you work on mindset. Like, what does that look like? How do we go about that?
Yeah, well, it's funny. You know, I did not have this plan. I have some crap on my desk here, and one of the things is one of the handouts we had in our binder at our event in Denver, and it's just simply, you know, we just start with 4 areas of, you know, who you want to be, right? You got your mind, you got your machine, which is your body, you got, we call it mankind, that's your relationships, then you got your money, you know. And so for the mindset piece, when we work with people, first thing we do is super simple. I'm a very simple, big picture guy, things like that, meaning let's draw stick figures, big pictures. But describe in detail where you're currently at right now. You got to know where you're at right now. And, you know, it's things like, you know, the thoughts that you have, your self-talk. What do you tell yourself? What do you really believe about yourself? Sorry, my dogs are freaking out up there.
Tom, this is a professional show, and that is unacceptable.
I know. I'm so sorry. I will not let that happen again.
Yeah. What was it, mankind? That also was dog kind. Control your dogs.
Dog kind. Yeah. And then on the other side is a year from today, right? And what do you want your mindset, your money, and all these things to look like a year from now? We really help just start with understanding the story that you're telling yourself. You know, we talked confidence a little bit earlier, and it's like you build your confidence in anything. I believe when you just simply honor the commitments that you make to yourself, and you prove to yourself that you have what it takes to honor like if you told me, you know, if you lived local to me and you said, Tom, I really got to get to the airport. I need you to pick me up at 4:30 in the morning tomorrow. Can you do it? I would totally be there, right? Like you would be there. I would, you know, that's for other people. We have very few times that we don't honor those commitments to other people.
Yeah.
But if I didn't have to get out of bed to get you to the airport, and I hit my snooze, set my alarm for 4:30, get up and work out, you know, more times than not, people will hit the snooze button, and right there, you're breaking a commitment that you made yourself, and now your confidence takes a dive. And so we really work on just getting you to see that, you know, you bring a lot of value. You have, you know, I rode the short bus for 2 years in grade school, and we've talked about that a lot. And I carried that around with me for a long time. And until I really owned my crap on it and said, you know, hey, that's part of my story, but it doesn't have to define me, and some of those things. So we really dig in. Like, good 80% of our coaching is up here. You know, we have one of our big group coaching programs. I got a mindset guy in there who's one of my mindset coaches. You know,
yeah.
He's in there helping people.
So confidence and mindset starts with making commitments, whether it be to the business, whether it be to staff, whether it be to family, whether it be to health, whether it be to faith, whether it be to hobbies, and actually executing on them. Now, tell me, is it important? Can't I just do that in my head? Do I have to go pen to paper? Is there some magic that when I put it down in writing? What's your take on that?
Yeah, there's a lot of science, and when you write things down physically, that it sticks better in your brain. You know, I'm a mix of that, believe it or not. Like, I have my morning legacy statement that I call it. Takes me about 3 minutes to read it. It's on my phone, and I just read it out loud to myself. Every now and then I'll pull out another journal thing and I'll write some things, but I'm to the point now where if it works, just don't mess with it, right? Like, if writing helping you, great. If you want to do it on your phone, great. To me, it's about the consistency. It's that habit. It's just building that routine that I'm going to tell myself a different story. You know, you want different outcomes. You got to put in different input, right? To change those beliefs. Because here's a big thing that I learned many years ago. I will never act in a way that's in conflict with what I truly believe. All right. And so back to the money thing, because it's just the easy thing to talk about here. If I don't believe deep down that I'm worth, you know, more money, I'm going to have a hard time charging more for my services. I'm going to have a hard time investing more in training, development, coaching, marketing, building my brand. That's the block right there. So we have to go back to the source of the thoughts. We have 60 or 70, 80, 90,000 thoughts a day. And most of them are negative. Most of them are subconscious, and most of them are on autopilot from the day before. And so that's why I'm super intentional every day, first thing in the morning, excuse me. I'm big on my, just putting the right stuff into my mind and making sure that I'm kicking off the day that way.
Yeah, you just mentioned kind of the story we're telling ourselves. Another way of saying it is just we all have narratives about things. Well, that's how that goes. John Acuff, an author guy, he wrote a book called Soundtracks. It's the same concept of like, what are the soundtracks that you're playing in your head? And if it's always negative, if you don't deliver things on time, if you're always too busy, if you're never able to keep up, guess what? You're going to be too busy. You're never going to be able to keep up. And if you just keep feeding yourself, so it's super interesting. It's not something that I think I do it in my own life pretty well, but it's an area that I think I need to lean into more when it comes to the content I create and when it comes to the work that I do with clients. What you're saying is a reminder to me, and it should be a reminder to anybody listening to this of we're all stinking busy, and each one of us can start our day by just hitting the inbox, start our day by hitting the first voicemail that we got to return. But are we being intentional, whether it be in the morning or whether it be halfway through the day or whether it be at the end of the day, with evaluating, like, how are you actually doing? Are you just making excuse after excuse after excuse? How are you going to get from where you're at to where you want to be a year from now? What do you even want to be a year from now?
Yeah.
Think about that.
Well, it's about, do you want to be somebody who initiates your success or just responds to what you get every day? And so this is just making that choice. You talked about who do I want to be in the future in a year or whatever question. We're constantly asking ourselves here is, we all have that future state of ourself, our ideal person that we are, our business, whatever, our health, relationships. We can look off into the future and see it. And I go, get crystal clear on what you want. And then simply just build the habit of asking yourself the question, what does that future require of me in this moment right now? And everyone talks about winning the day, and I'm all for winning the day, but to win the day, you got to win the moment, and then you stack the moments and then you end up winning the day. And so something really simple could be, how many guys are like contractors that struggled getting their invoicing done, right? I mean, something as simple as that, or doing some job costing. Well, I don't feel like it. I don't have time. Well, you got to win that moment. Your success doesn't give a crap how you feel, right? It's you either do the work or you don't do the work. One other thing I want to go back to about telling ourselves the stories, because this is relevant to contractors. Contractors having a really hard time, even pre, COVID and all this other crap going on. Contractors have a hard time finding people for quite a while, right? Building their teams, getting people to want to come into the trades, blah, blah, blah. And if we're not careful, we're telling ourselves the story like nobody wants to work. Millennials, they're lazy, I can't find any, like when you keep telling yourself that stuff, you're going to get more of that. So whatever you tell yourself, you get more of. There's a guy that we've been working with for a while. He was trying forever to find a foreman for his landscape company. And we challenged him. One of my coaches in one of the group calls just said, dude, he said, set an alarm on your phone to remind you every hour in the hour to say out loud, there are plenty of people that want to come work for me and be my foreman. That was it. There's plenty of people in this city that want to work for me.
It's kind of cheesy.
It is cheesy, man. 3 days he hired somebody, and they've been with them. They've been with them now for 2 years. Okay, right. So it's like I don't know how because
cheesy, practical, right? It's all of that.
Yeah, but because there's this little thing called our reticular activating system, our RAS in our brain.
Hang on, I got to write that down. You're talking too big now.
You need me to spell it for you? So it's like when you go look at a white F-150 to buy as a truck. That's why, or you buy one, now you start seeing them all over because you have made that thing important to you. So if you make something negative important to you, like there's nobody that wants to work, or I can't raise my prices, and that's what you're putting your brain on, your RAS is going to look for more evidence of that. And the flip side is the same. So that's why we got to be really careful about what we put into our brain. We have to be intentional about it. Even if it's cheesy.
Yeah, and I was tongue in cheeking. It is kind of like how silly is it? How this is, I trick myself constantly. I get out sticky notes and just write the thing that I'm going to work on next right there. I'm like, all right, I got to do something. I got to make 5 phone calls. I'm going to write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and when I do them, like, Kyle, aren't you a professional enough businessman that you don't need that silly stuff? No. We need to continue to figure out whatever works for us. Guess what? That stinking reminder on the hour, it might work for 3 days and then you start ignoring it or you cancel it. All right, think of something else. Chris Mosley wants to say, how's it going, Tom?
What's up, Chris? Good to see you, buddy.
Anybody else want to comment with a question or a thought? We got a couple likes. I see Heather's out there, Bailey's out there. Okay, good. I'm going to shift things a little bit. Talk to me a little bit more about the team. Not only, Tom, it's really, I could go, it's really hard to find good people out there, Tom. It's guess what? It's hard now. It's going to be hard stinking in 2026 too, right? That's not going to improve anytime super quickly. But one of the things that you write about often, as I was reading this book, word by word, all 130 pages of it. It's not even that big a book. It's actually quite, honesty, right? That's what you said earlier. I didn't read the whole book, but I've been following your stuff enough, and I looked through the table of contents. One thing I did notice is, these are like nice bite-sized little chapters. Like people can just grab one of these and read it. So a little plug for the book. It comes out on October the 23rd. People, it's called Winning the Contractor Fight. Tom was sitting there going, well, my business name is the Contractor Fight. What should I name my book? I know, we'll put winning in front of it. Brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah, it took the whole board of directors to figure that one out.
Yes. But it is something you should pick up, support his work, and you're going to get some good nuggets from it. But something that I saw in there, I've seen you talk about is, how do we build excellent teams? I was talking before we started this about my admiration is a good word for it, of how you've built out your business. We do similar work. You've got this, that, and the other going on. You've got X number of downloads, this and that. And you mentioned, Kyle, there would be no shot at this if I didn't have all these people around me. I mean, I've tasted that by having Bailey and Kristen and some people around me at a little smaller scale, but still it's allowed me to do so much more. It's the same stinking thing for all of the remodelers listening to it. If I look at the top 10% in any industry, but in the remodeling industry, two of the biggest common denominators is they charge what they need to charge and they understand their numbers. And number two, they have an awesome team around them. How do we develop and build awesome teams?
I have some talking points that will never not be my talking points on this topic, because I've just seen it so many times. It's worked for me. It's worked for our clients. Jason Gedham, what's up, buddy? Good to see you here, man.
Yep.
The number one thing that I believe a business owner could do in any industry if they want to build their team is that you have to grow your brand. All right. You have to be fanatical about building your brand, meaning how am I going to show up in the world? What am I going to stand for? I started beating the drum with the Contractor Fight that we're here to bring respect and dignity back to the trades. It's time to stop stealing from your family. And that's why we exist, is to help people do that. And then I just kept showing up with the phone and the videos and the podcast and all this other stuff. And I refused. One of my personal mantras or codes that I live by is be like water. Like, I'm going to keep showing up, and the water is going to wear down the rock. It's going to cut through the rock because it keeps showing up. And that's just, when you can get that through your mind, that I'm going to build my business and I'm going to build my brand. Now I'm visible to the world. And when I'm building a brand, obviously it helps with getting customers, but it also becomes a magnet to people that are in your industry, because I promise you that there's another part to this, and we talked about it in the book, the people game chapter 12.
Oh yeah, page 72. I love that one. Yeah,
there you go. It's actually page 107.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
That's all right. You didn't read the book anyway, so we're good. I just sent it to you though, so you couldn't have read it.
Right. I mean, I moved, Tom. I bought and sold a house on Friday. I've been moving the last week. I mean, cut me some slack.
But like what I talk about in the people game is when we understand how human beings are wired, and we have a responsibility as a leader to understand that everybody has certain fears, and then everybody has certain needs that those fears create, right? So an example that I give in the book is human beings in general, we fear an unclear future. Okay. That's just something that we carry with us. It's innate. There's a bunch of smart people that did a bunch of research that I read and found this and made it our own here. Well, that creates the need of clarity, right? So when you build your brand, you're attractive to people. And now you got, I don't care if you have one person on your team or if it's subcontractors or whatever, when you give your team a clear future, like, hey, if I come to work for you, how's it going to make my life better in 10 years? Okay. And now a lot of guys in the trades don't think that way. You know, like I could start at this position and here's the money and the responsibilities. Where can I go and how do I get there? That's one example. Or another example would be, you know, just the guys, just the crews knowing what's happening in the business, right? Like instead of just getting a text the night before going, hey, go to 123 Main Street and paint the house, it's having those meetings to let people know, hey, what are the goals are we setting? How are we doing on the goals? So this is just one way that you can meet that need of clarity and get rid of that unclear future fear. So when that becomes your culture, that becomes a magnet to other people in the industry. Because I'll tell you right now, guys, you don't want somebody sitting at home coming to work for you. You want somebody who already has a job, who's kicking ass to come work for you. And I promise you, I would bet your left pinky. Never bet your own left pinky. All right, I would bet your left pinky.
It's a good looking pinky.
It is a good looking pinky.
You know what? Hang on, I'm going to let you finish. I don't want to throw you off. You're about to hit a major point. Go.
All right. So, but all kidding aside, I would bet anything that the people that you want working for you, who are working for somebody else, they are not satisfied with their current employer. 90% of them are, because most employers don't pay attention to some of the things that we teach here and that we're talking about. You know, there's another thing that we call the profit path. Well, the number one thing that you can do to have a profitable company and this and that is work from the inside out. So work on me as a leader, develop my culture, satisfy my employees. A satisfied employee becomes a loyal employee becomes more productive, who in turn does better work, then satisfies the customer and then makes a loyal customer. So you have, most of us are trying to make our customers happy, do higher quality work and all this other crap. When you really learn what it means to satisfy an employee, you become a magnet to other people in the industry. So that's my little soapbox on hiring.
What I heard there, if I were to paraphrase it, one, your brand and your reputation and who you are attracts. I've seen Nate's Custom Renovations out in Lincoln, Nebraska. His last two hires have come from out of state. They searched kitchen remodeling, Lincoln, Nebraska. They go to his website. This guy's got his crap together. He's got a really nice join our team page. He's got, a process. They were impressed by it. This guy's got his poop in a group. I haven't used that phrase in a long time.
I've never even heard that.
There you go. That's because that's something. Just a little something that you can put in your Rolodex of phrases, Mr. Phraseman.
Value to me, man. Look at that. So talk about the guy in Nebraska. Matt Heiner is a guy I encourage people to check out. Go to Instagram and look at the Yardist. The Yardist on Instagram, and also he's got another account, Heiner Outdoor Living. He's the guy that just did my project here, and I've known him for a while. He's been in our programs. He's now a good buddy of mine. He spoke at our event on building your brand. Dude, he's hired like half a dozen people in the last year that have moved to Colorado Springs from other areas because the way he was building his brand on social. He's got 80,000 followers on Instagram.
I want to be part of that, is what they're saying.
And he does. I mean, he does easily over $1 million a year just from his Instagram accounts in landscape projects and high-end shit. And he gets employees out of it.
And they're wanting to be part of it because nobody else is even remotely close to showing the interesting cultural we care. I mean, there's hires because, another recent hire was down in Cincinnati with Vision Construction. They, Jason's done a phenomenal job of building a culture. And yes, he did post pictures this summer of him and his crew out water skiing. And yes, that woman who's friends with so-and-so saw it on Facebook and says, hey, hubby, you're miserable. Call Jason. You've talked about calling Jason for too long. Call him. So this what I'm hearing on the team. So we talked about two things so far. Mindset. Where are you going? What are you feeding your mind? What are you telling yourself? We all, myself included, maybe not Tom. Tom's locked in on it, but we all need to spend more time considering those things, being aware of those things, having some self-awareness of what's going on and where you want to be. There's work for all of us to do in that. Number two, we're talking about the team and team building. So I just hit on a few things that I heard there. The other thing I heard there is, You need to spend more time caring and considering where your team members are going. What can you do for them, not what they can do for you? Check in on them. This is 1,000 little things is how you do this. How do you build an incredible culture and a incredible team? It's not one thing. It's a combination of a ton of little things. So that's very helpful. And we're going to move on to the third thing.
By the way, one thing on there. One more thing.
Hang on. I'm trying to promote your book. Quiet down. Winning the Contractor Fight. It comes out October 23rd, 2021. Buy it. How much is it?
I don't know.
I knew you were going to say that.
Actually, if you go to the contractorfight.com.
Okay. Is that what we prefer?
/book. You can get a notification when it's available. You can sign up and get a notification. And I think, and I say I don't know because we still have to work some out with one of the printers, but the plan is to give it away to people for free and you just pay postage. Nice. So if you go to thecontractorfight.com /book. Let's see if my crack team
is watching this. Bailey, can you put that as a comment, please? Is she paying attention? We'll see.
And then you'll be able to get on an Amazon and all that other shit as well. So
okay, cool. You were about to, before I promote your book though, you were about to put an exclamation mark on the team thing.
Yeah, on the people thing. One of my mentors and business partners in our sales academy, our sales program, Steve, he always says, people always talk about the golden rule: treat others the way you would want to be treated, right? Yes. And I don't know where he got this, but he has what he calls the platinum rule: is you treat others the way they want to be treated. Yeah. And I think, and he's had incredible success building teams. He's sold 2 multi-million-dollar businesses to his employees, like shit like that, all because he's always gone to you going, how do you want to be treated? How can I make your life better? All this other stuff. And we have that mindset and that attitude towards our people. They'll lay in traffic for you. They'll do anything. And because they know you care.
Yeah. I think there's a book called The Platinum. Bam. I think there's a book called The Platinum Rule. Not to take anything away from Steve, but the good book, the good book says there's nothing. Yeah, the good book is there's nothing new under the sun. Right? We're all just building on other people's stuff. So I don't know if that's Bailey or not. That might be your Roz, but somebody wrote it on there. Get a notification when it goes live. Go to thecontractorfight.com/book. So the last thing and we'll go a couple minutes over our normal 30 minutes here, but let me ask you a question related to kind of the numbers and the financials. Number one, why do people not charge what they need to be charging? What do you think that is?
Well, first, in most cases, initially, it's they don't believe they're worth it. I'm gonna give you like one answer that's a bunch of bullet points. How's that? They don't believe they're worth it. They're paying attention to the going rate, which is ridiculous because most contractors don't charge enough, don't know their numbers. So why would we copy the going rate? Mm-hmm. And then the third big one is they don't take the time to job cost. And I don't know about you, but like you work with people, I work with people. The number one tool that I give somebody to really wake them up about getting their numbers where they need to be is I just go, just job cost your last 5 projects. And 100% of the time they come back and they go, all right, you got me. I'm sold.
I can't do it. Yeah. Or they don't know how to do it or what. I mean, if I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times in the last year. Just do this for me. Tell me what your expected gross profit is and what your actual gross profit was. Because if you do that, you're going to get pissed off. You're going to get fired up. You're going to become a better estimator, salesperson, project manager, production manager. You just heard him say, one of the big reasons people don't raise their prices because they're not paying attention to job costing. I didn't say it. He said it. So everybody's sick of me saying it, job costing. Now, Tom, but pointed question. The feedback, because we're in the same industry, like, you notice Jason and Chris, like, those people, some of my people are your people, some of your people are my people. And that's just wonderful. But the thing that I've heard probably from 4 or 5 people that have reached out to me just about coaching and whatnot in the last couple of years is, I was part of Tom's group and he's just always preaching about 50% gross profit. And Kyle, we're remodelers. Like, I'm doing 6-figure jobs. Like, is that feasible? I mean, Remodelers Advantage has been teaching 40% gross profit margin for years, 1.67. 50% on these big projects. It makes sense for those other contractors, but not for us. What say you to that?
All right. Well, this is funny. We get more pushback from contractors over this issue than probably any other issue. And this goes back to the mindset and what you believe is possible and shit like that, right? Like, oh, you can't do that in my industry, you can't do that in my area, can't. Okay, well, if you tell yourself you can't, you can't. Before we talk about whether you can get 50% or not, most contractors know that a project doesn't always go as planned. Okay, it could be weather, psycho homeowner, you run into a problem on the project or whatever. So if you're not, this is just what we teach and it works. And I will give you this. I'm gonna put an asterisk on this at the end of this little thing.
Good.
Okay.
Love asterisks.
But I will tell you, I've seen home builders, remodelers doing high six-figure projects, painters, plumbers, you name it, getting north of 50, 55, 60% gross profit consistently for years in our programs. Okay. So it happens a lot, way more than you would think. So, but I want to go back to why. The number one reason why is shit goes wrong. Okay. And if you're not bidding and selling your work at a high enough profit margin, now when things go wrong, you're really in the gutter financially. And what happens is why contractors get a bad rap. What do you start doing? You start taking shortcuts, you speed up on things, you want to get off this job, get to the next job, you get the deposits, you disappear for a couple days and all this other stuff. And you can't offer as good as an experience as you want to, because you're so freaked out about losing money on the project because something went wrong. And so very seldom, now in a perfect world, you sell it at 50, you produce it at 50 or better, right? And a lot of guys are dialed in with that. I'm thinking of a remodeler who sold his business, it was a couple $1 million a year. Remodeler, he's now my right-hand guy in the Contractor Fight. He had a $2 million something remodeling business outside of Chicago, sold it. They averaged 52% gross profit and they subcontracted everything out. Okay. And so I just want to encourage people that it can happen. Now, here's my asterisk. Or let me go back to why 50%. 50% for most contractors, most of the people that listen to me, they don't have their act together with their money. They don't have their act together with leading and recruiting and marketing and building their brand and all this other stuff. And so that's why the average home improvement contractor has a ton of debt. They don't have enough money bringing home to their family and making 50, 60 grand a year, whatever the heck it is, which is pathetic.
Yep.
All right. So that's the starting point for us. We always talk about 50% GP is the fastest way out of the gutter for you to move the needle financially in your business. Here's the asterisk. There's some guys on here right now, like, I don't know if he's still here, but Jason's on here. Jason's in
my people don't leave. They they start, they have blocked out all of this time. They show up every single time for the whole time.
Awesome. So Jason is a remodeler, well north of $1 million business and all this other stuff. Jason has his act together. Jason knows his numbers. He tracks his KPIs. He's working on him as a leader, and they have regular meetings and financial meetings, and they invoice on time, and they've found their sweet spot, and so far this year, Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's somewhere around 42%. Okay. So I get this. Every business, I'm just saying, if you don't know your numbers, you're not job costing, you're not having team meetings, you're not building your brand on all this stuff. If you're trying to sell your work for anything less than 50%, you're screwing yourself. But then you do reach a point in your business where you realize, what do we call it? Financial competency in your business. And then you'll know what your sweet spot is, because you'll know your cost per lead and cost per sale and how long it takes to collect money and all these other things that are operating with the business. But 95% of the people that are listening to you and I, they're not there yet.
Yeah. It's kind of like, it's kind of like Dave Ramsey's advice of, like, everybody picks it as, like, 7 steps or whatnot. It's baby steps. And it's like, wow, does it make sense to do? Dude, half of it is mindset. Half of it is just getting yourself in a habit. So your answer there was kind of what I was hoping for. A little flexibility, but here's the reason why I smack people upside the face with this 50% is because I need them thinking way differently. I don't want to be piddling around and saying, well, if you're at 28% gross profit, why don't you move it up to 34 and see how that goes? We need drastic change. But that makes sense when you're talking about more established businesses, when we know our numbers, when they're dialed in. Let's calculate where we need to be. I like that. And also, I need to go back to when you said $50,000, $60,000. That's pathetic. And then I said, yeah. The reason that I said that and the reason that you said that is not because making $50,000, $60,000 is you're a big fat loser. The reason is because you work your face off. You're taking all the risk in the business. You're taking on all of this responsibility and workload. Doggone it, if you're not making six figures, then go get yourself a job, reduce your stress level, and I bet you your marriage and your relationships and your fishing pole is going to get a little bit more attention.
100%, man. 100%. Yeah. I appreciate you bringing it. It doesn't mean you're a loser as a human being. It just means, like, for all the risk you're taking, all the stress you're taking on, and all this other garbage. And here's what guys do. You see this because you look at their numbers. They'll go, yeah, there was, I just pay myself out of the net profit. I'm like, no, that doesn't work. You need to have a salary. If you're going to own a business, if you worked for a business, you would expect a regular paycheck, a salary that was going to meet your needs at home and let you save some money and buy braces when you need to and all that other crap.
Man, they're expensive.
So I've done it several times. And it's like, why do we tolerate it any less in our own business? Your net profit is above and beyond your salary. The net profit, to me, the way I've always defined it, it's the financial pat on the back that you get for having the stones to run a business and go through all you go through in a year. All right. And you can do whatever you want with that net profit. A lot of people will reinvest it back into the business or pay off debt or share with their employees. Or in my case, I shared at our Mile High Profit Summit the story of one of my friends who's a photographer in Chicago. He helped fund one of my adoptions of my daughter from China at a time that I was really struggling with money way back when we were going through the adoption process. And he's like, yeah, one of the reasons we're building a business is to have an impact in the world. We like to give. And he says they pick like 4 or 5 families every year that they help them with their adoptions. That's what him and his family does, all because he cares about the money. And he realizes this is not just for me to live on top of a mountain, and buy boats and be an ogre business owner like everyone thinks we are. So
beautiful. I love that. I did read in here on page 54 and 55, and yes, it's actually those 2 pages, non-negotiable values list of like, take the top 10. And I look at, so we'll end with this. I look around you in the background there, and we've got grit, determination, hustle, execution, perseverance, be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions. Always do your best. What I'm seeing there are core values. This is who we are. And I've been building up a lot of momentum over the last couple of years of, mission statements. Let's spend a lot of time and digest that and then never use them, and core values. But you can take core values, think about what you represent, what your brand or your company represents, and really own it. Make it part of the business and talk about it a lot. Share your 2 cents on that.
Yeah. So, this thing here is from the book, The 4 Agreements. That's just the 4 agreements that are on my wall. These were a gift up here from my bookkeeper, Gina. Thanks, values Gina. Are actually over there on something else. But, some of our values in the fight are my values as a human, right? So because it's my show, my company, right? It's who I am. So one example of one of our values is positive peeps only. Like, it's hard enough to go through life and business and all this other stuff without inviting negativity into your life. And so if you're going to be a team member of ours, a client of ours, a vendor of ours, whatever, we expect positivity. Doesn't mean that you don't have a down day now and then and stuff. Or another one of ours is roll the red, meaning roll the red carpet. Another is play the long game. That's why, dude, I did hundreds of podcasts and videos before I ever made an offer to sell anything, because I am not a quick transaction guy. I'm a play the long game. I believe you add enough value, you'll get enough back. So whenever we're about to do anything, from planning the event to, strategic partnerships, bringing on sponsors for our show, all this other stuff, every decision we make in the fight, we run through our values as a team. Yeah. And if they don't resonate or hit the mark on most of them, we don't do the thing, whatever it is. And so for us, they're really that compass of, I like that, of where we're going.
I like that. So if you don't have core values, now's the time to kind of put that on the old to-do list. Tom, go ahead.
We call them NNVs, non-negotiable values. That's just our phrase here because it reminds us that we don't bend on this shit, Yeah. And I brought my team together a few years ago, and we created these together. They weren't just all mine. We all had our say in them, and probably a third of the values were from my team that meant something to them.
And you can read more about it in chapter 7, titled The F Word. Most people that follow you are like, wow, Tom, you went through this whole podcast episode without dropping the F-bomb. You must know that Kyle likes to keep a clean show. And but that F word thing it's not what people think. They need to buy the book and read that little 5-page chapter.
Man.
Cool. It's been a pleasure. I appreciate your passion, your energy, and your clarity. You kind of, you cut through a lot of the clutter and just get to really core, solid, in your face. Do this stuff, guys. Are you thinking about these things? So I think we hit on a good number of those things today, talking about mindset, confidence, team building, numbers, and financials. I got my question that I wanted to ask you answered. This was good. I appreciate your time. Everybody go buy the Winning the Contractor Fight. And Tom, you got the final word. What do you want to leave the people with?
Well, first, I want to thank you for having me. It means a lot. I know you work hard for your audience like I do mine, and you don't just put anybody in front of them. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, you bet. Glad we could connect.
Listen, you guys, there's so many, I guess what I would leave you with is there's so many people out there like Kyle and I that are doing great things to help people find a community, whether it's mine, whether it's his, whether it's somebody else's. You're not on an island. You're not alone. You're not going through things that nobody else isn't experiencing. And I talk about that in the book too, the importance of, it's called Show Me Your Friends, right? Like who are you hanging out with? That's going to help the mindset game for you. There's no way I would be where I am without the people that I made decisions to hang out with and the people I cut out through the years. Right.
Yeah.
So I guess that's what I would leave everybody with.
Yeah. That chapter's really, on page 92 is an excellent chapter.
Yeah, it wasn't 92, but that's all right.
Okay.
All right, so
Tom, it's been a pleasure. Thank you. Thanks so much for your time. And if they want to get a hold of you, go to the contractorfight.com/book. Grab a copy of that, support his work, and we'll talk to you again soon.